Well, ladies and gentlemen, it appears as if the progressive left's brand new communist poster child, New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, has just found himself in some hot water. You see, as you all know, Mamdani is a self-avowed communist who wants to turn New York City into a complete and total hellscape with his radically progressive policies. But folks, here's the deal. Mamdani's dangerous agenda is not just a local New York City problem. No, in fact, it is a direct threat to America's national security, and President Trump is not going to let it slide. But you know what? Take a look at this. Mamdani actually openly supports the terrorist group Hamas and lied about his ties to terrorism as well as communism when he became a U.S. citizen just 7 years ago. And so that is why Republican Congressman Andy Ogles is demanding that Attorney General Pam Bondi revoke Mamdani's citizenship and deport him back to Uganda, where he came from. But beyond that, President Trump himself could actually invoke the Communist Control Act of 1954 to stop this radically progressive terrorist-supporting communist dead in his tracks and keep him from ever becoming New York City's mayor. And if you want to know why shutting this guy down immediately is so important, take a look at this. Mamdani plans to pay for all of his insane communist policies by hiking taxes on, quote, richer and whiter neighborhoods, exposing his blatant anti-white racism. But ladies and gentlemen, as if all of that isn't bad enough, take a look at what he had to say on his recent appearance on CNN. Let it play.
So when people say democratic socialist, right? And I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's what I'm focused on is dignity and taking on income inequality. And for too long, politicians have pretended that we're spectators to that crisis of affordability. We're actually actors, and we have the choice to exacerbate it, like Mayor Adams has done, or to respond to it and resolve it, like I'm planning to do.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Mamdani himself admits that he despises capitalism and wants to solve all of New York's problems with his communist, anti-American agenda. Here's the reality. Mamdani's radically progressive policies like free handouts for illegal aliens do nothing but screw over hardworking American taxpayers who actually contribute to society and play by the rules. And get this, Mamdani also plans, if elected, to release all of New York City's violent criminals out of prison and back onto the streets. Take a look.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence of the highest degree.
Ladies and gentlemen, very clearly, this guy is absolutely insane. He actually thinks that violent crime is just some sort of racist social construct. In truth, Mamdani's plan to empty New York's prisons of every single violent criminal is absolute madness that does nothing other than endanger everyday hardworking Americans. And on top of that, he also plans to block federal ICE agents from doing their jobs inside of New York City. Really, he just wants violent criminals and illegal aliens to run free through the streets of New York. But so folks, I want you all to take a listen to what President Trump's border czar Tom Homan had to say about all of this. But first, I do want to say real fast that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a lot. But okay, play the clip.
Mayor candidate. He hasn't won yet, but he won the Democratic primary, Zohran Mamdani. So he's saying, I mean, this is incredible. He's vowed to kick the, quote, fascist ICE out of New York City, okay? So how do you intend to deal with that? Because I would guess there are going to be a lot of criminals and Iranian cells and whatnot in New York City. The job's not done there. What do you say to this guy?
Good luck with that. Federal law trumps him every day, every hour of every minute. We're going to be in New York City. Matter of fact, because it's a sanctuary city. President Trump made it clear a week and a half ago. We're going to double down and triple down on sanctuary cities. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the county jail, one agent arresting one bad guy, they release him in the streets like New York does every day. We got to send a whole team to look for this guy. And not only that, we're going to send additional teams to look for all the people they arrest. We're going to concentrate in sanctuary cities because we know they're releasing public safety threats and national security threats back to the street. So we know we got a problem there. So we don't have that problem in Florida where most sheriffs work for us. So we're going to just double up and triple up on New York. And not only are we going to send more agents to the neighborhood, we're going to increase worksite enforcement tenfold. If we can't arrest them in the jail, you're going to force them in the neighborhood, then we'll find them in the neighborhood. If we can't find them in the neighborhood, we'll find them at the worksite. So game on, we're coming.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Border Czar Tom Homan is vowing that ICE will override Mamdani's resistance, promising to flood New York City with hundreds or thousands of ICE agents in order to enforce federal immigration law. And let's be honest here, Mamdani's communist dystopia would absolutely destroy New York City, driving businesses and residents alike to flee to other states like Florida, which is thriving under America First policies. Mamdani's plan to slap higher taxes on the whiter areas of the city is nothing but another disgusting example of the progressive left's never-ending anti-white racist agenda. But you know what bothers me the most? Mamdani's rise is pushing New York towards total economic collapse, all while he hides all of his virtue-signaling progressive ideals. The reality is, Mamdani's radically progressive communist policies are not just reckless, and they are, but they are also a deliberate and explicit attack on everything that makes America great, from our country all the way down to our national safety. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is why President Trump's America First agenda is really the only way to save New York City from becoming a complete and total communist hellscape. So thank God that President Trump is back in the White House, and thank God that they are actively working to shut this guy down, because that is what it's going to take to finally make this country great again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, I do want to say real quick that we officially have a Morse News Twitter page as well as a Morse News Facebook page. So if you use either of those platforms, please go down below and drop a follow in order to get breaking news updates that relate to everything we talk about here in the YouTube videos. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there, and like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.